We are at the FIBO in Cologne, Germany, and we are doing franchise checks for the 2025 ELF season. All 16 franchises, we're doing a deep dive, and I am here with our resident experts, all things ELF, Matt Bressington. Today, we are talking about the Munich Ravens, sitting in the Southern Division. This is a team that made the playoffs last year, lost to Paris. They're young, they're looking a lot different this year. Matt, let's talk about the Munich Ravens, and let's start off with the history of this franchise.
Here we go. So come in 2023. Bit of a surprise team to enter into the ELF, I'm going to be honest. 7-5, good season. John Shute, the second best offense in the league that year. Then it completely shifts teams. Like the 2023 season, different to 24, and then they've done it again in 2025. They finish 9-3 with a really, really stout defense, with a very interesting offense with Chad Jeffries just dicing everyone up. They were a lot more defense. I think Kendra Ellison's defensive mind really factored into that.
When we're talking about that history, I think a lot of people were surprised, and I still can't really get over it. The fact that they got rid of John Shute after that 2023 season when they started off so well. Something going on behind the scenes, not people getting along, what have you. But they did end up taking another step forward in 2024 and actually making the playoffs. But like you said, this team is looking a lot different this year, which gets us into this season, 2025. Let's start off with some of the key departures. You already mentioned Chad Jeffries. Let's talk about some of the players that have left this franchise.
Here we go. So just not even players, there's other ones as well. I'll get into that in a second. Talked about Chad, poised, accurate, deadly killer inside the pocket. You interviewed him yesterday, it was a great interview. Tommy Wayewo, one of my favorite running backs in the entire league, the best receiving back in the entire league. He can do absolutely anything if he can stay healthy, and that's a big point. But he's not there anymore. He's gone. You've lost him. So you don't even get to see if he's healthy anymore. And then you got 6'10" Dragon. Comes in as like the possession receiver in the slot. He can play a little bit outside. He gets poached by Madrid. It's a big loss, honestly. Before I got into the tape, I didn't realize how important he was to their offensive system. And I think they're going to miss him a lot.
And then also the loss of Joe Thomas, who brought a lot of media presence, kind of brand awareness to the Munich Ravens. He's gone as well, so kind of a lot of big names. Oh, yeah, well, man, that's just what you said. Like he is so good out of the backfield as well. All right, then let's talk a little bit about their key extensions, some of the guys that they were able to retain, starting off with Justin Rodney, who kind of had a sort of a breakout season last year because Tomoa was hurt.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got I believe the most rushing yards for any German in ELF history. I'm pretty positive.
Yeah.
So he did really, really well stepping in. A good athlete. He's been in the ELF for a couple of years, and this was his big breakout year. It does seem as if they're going to try and push him as their main guy this year, which I like. They've got him some good backups that we'll get to in a second, but they've done a good job in building around him. And then Marvin Rusch, Marvelous Marvin, as they call him.
Marvelous Marvin.
Great nickname. One of the best German receivers we have. Route technician. Some of the way that he is able to break off some of these routes, just snap it off in a certain way. It's very, very nice to watch. I think he's going to be important for the young quarterback they brought in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got to call, I think, 2 or 3 of Munich's games last year, and these are guys who you're saying their name a lot. They're big-time contributors. Been very impressed with both of them, so it's good they're able to retain these guys after losing some of these other big names. All right, then let's get into some of the new additions. All right, and this is kind of an interesting one here, starting off with Russell Tabor, the young quarterback who has 1 season of experience in Europe, in Spain. This will be his first time in the ELF. 22 years old, 23 years old, very, very young. Thoughts here?
He's a very interesting prospect, and I use prospects because he basically still is, he's still a young quarterback. Was at North Carolina University, that's good pedigree. Didn't play, but being in that system is going to be helpful for a player's development. Comes to Spain, does really well in Spain as well, so shows a bit of maturity, 22, 23, moving to Spain and completely different world, right? So that's a lot of emotional maturity. Big arm, very big arm.
Right.
He's mobile, he uses that mobility in the pocket a lot more. Mechanics aren't perfect, footwork isn't perfect, a little bit inconsistent, and here's where I think Sean Shelton comes into play. MVP of the league, he's involved with Munich. He's the first quarterback MVP of the league's history, and I think he's going to be very important for developing him.
Here, let me push back a little bit on this, because their head coach, obviously, Kendra Ellison, is a defensive guy. Sean, obviously, everything you said right there is true. It is correct. I don't know how involved Sean is in the actual on-field football stuff. Now, maybe in terms of being a mentor to him, I could see a benefit there. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he is, working with him. But there's a little bit of a concern there for me. What do you think?
Absolutely understandable. I hope Sean is there for it, because Sean's coming to Europe. He's played he played nearly a decade in Austria, I'm pretty
He
sure.
came before even I did.
Yeah, exactly. So having that level of experience, and then with the high level of ability he showed, would mean a lot for Russell Tabor to have behind his back.
All right. How about on the defensive side of the ball? I got excited about this. Dexter Fitzpatrick, because he's a linebacker, American linebacker. Let's go. Turns out a little bit of a false promise, more of an outside backer, edge type guy. What do you think?
Hyper aggressive. That's his big thing. It pops off the tape how aggressive he is. Very good punch separation off the edge. Long arm, he's able to do that. He's able to stunt into the middle and use that length and size. Very good athlete. Big pop. He's still, we say about the age of this team, he's only 24. So he's still a very young developing prospect as well.
So looking at the remainder of the roster, kind of the depth chart here, say you've got some doubts on the Germans on the defensive side of the ball for Munich. Can you expand on that?
German-wise, they have some very talented players, but a lot of them are on offense. And we look at their defensive side. Jonas Reichwald is a very good rush, and I think he's probably the best German player they have in terms of their defensive unit. Nico Liederer, we talked about him on the LF Live when he signed as a nickel player. I like his potential as well. A couple other players, Kevin Titz as well, good inside linebacker, struggled with injuries, but a good player. They brought in Niederlander, amazing Austrian corner, one of my favorite young cornerbacks in the entire game. They've had Spendiz on Nasri, who we talked about in Science Center as well, and then Louis, the interior defensive tackle from New Zealand. They've had to invest on this defense because there is not a massive amount of Germans that you would consider a top 10 in their position.
Okay, interesting. Now with that being said, let's take a look at their schedule for 2025, and we're going to go ahead and pick our predictions for their wins and losses. I will take the front half of the season. Matt, you got the back half, and starting off here against their South Division rival. This is growing out to be a nice little rivalry here. I like this Munich Tirol, and they're going to get the win against Tirol in their opener there. Give them the W. They're going to get a W against Berlin the next week. Tough one here, man. Obviously, they're not going to beat the Surge. No shot. No shot. What are we talking about here? Helvetic, W. Give it to them. Then I think they're going to run into a little bit of a lull. I think that they're going to split games with Berlin. They're going to lose this one.
Interesting.
Obviously going to lose their second one against the Surge. And that's what we're going to bring them to 3-3 in the front half of the season, according to my expertise. Matt, finish out the season. What do you got?
I have a very similar outlook on the Munich Ravens to you. So we're going to start with the Madrid Bravos game, which they are going to lose. So they're going to be on a little bit of a mid-season skid. They're going to come back with a win against the Mercenaries, and then it's back to the losing column in the next game. They're then going to win against the Panthers, then they're going to lose against Madrid again, and then they're going to win against the Panthers. So streaky, very streaky. I think that inexperience from that young roster is going to play through in some of these games.
6-6 would be very disappointing for that franchise if they'd taken a step forward from their first year to their second year, making the playoffs. If they skid back to 6-6, not going to be happy there. I know they've got really high expectations here, but remember last year, they were pretty mid in the middle of the season, and then they had a pretty easy back half of the schedule, almost guaranteed wins, and they hit on all of those wins. Unfortunately, doesn't play out the same way here, but what do they have to do, or what has to happen for them not to go 500 and take a step back?
So in scouting, we talk about ceilings all the time. How good is a player's ceiling? How could they possibly be? You have floors, you have ceilings. Every player has one, as much as some people don't like to admit it. Everyone has a floor and a ceiling. They need all of their young players to hit their ceilings this season. It's a lot to ask. A lot of these guys coming to Europe for maybe the first time, or they're still young and a little bit inexperienced. A lot of pressure on all of these young guys. They all need to be at their max potential. And then Kentrell needs to raise the level of this defense. There's maybe not elite Germans we said about. He needs to find a way to get them involved and then raise their current ability. The great coaches do that, and I think they've got some great coaches in Munich.
There we have it, the Munich Ravens out of the South Division for 2025. That is their franchise check. Thank you for watching.